Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling for February 28, 2013. And obviously there's only a few more weeks before the Lockdown pay-per-view. And at this point in time, I feel that, they put some very good focal point towards the Aces and Eights and Sting and Kurt Angle for that storyline. They obviously wanted Kurt Angle to work with Wes Briscoe right off the bat here. They put him and Wes in a one-on-one for the inside the steel cage for the Lockdown pay-per-view. We'll see if there will be any real furthering of that storyline this week. I liked how they had Kurt Angle going around searching for the Aces and Eights clubhouse, eventually getting in there, and I'm not sure if he unmasked the leader or one of the bigger cronies at that point. Obviously, we did not see that on camera. And then Kurt Angle eventually did get beat down by the rest of Aces and Eights after seeing who was behind the mask. Obviously, logic would say he would say who it was in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully, they don't come up with like some kind of amnesia type deal where he forgets who it was. Also, they had the naming of the teams for the Lethal Lockdown with Sting and Devon being the team leaders. Eventually, you knew the Aces and Eights members that would pretty much be in there. Mr. Anderson, Doc, Devon, obviously Garrett Bischoff. I forget who the other one is at this point in time. And then, of course, it was Sting, Samoa Joe, Magnus, James Storm, and the shocking one was more of Eric Young. But then again, when Sting said he was going to take people from that quote-unquote tournament, world heavyweight title tournament-esque deal, you knew he wouldn't pick Kazarian or Christopher Daniels in any way, shape, or form. Same to go with Austin Aries and Bobby Roode, considering the fact that they were already in they're going to be in their tag team title match with Chavo Guerrero and Hernandez. So in that aspect, it was really weird when he did pick Eric Young. But then again, I mean, it does make sense to the storyline for having Eric Young be in there because of him being taken out by the Aces and Eights a while back, and obviously he's back in the company now. The last little area I really want to talk about is the World Heavyweight title situation with Jeff Hardy and Bully Ray. I somewhat liked the promo between Bully Ray and Jeff Hardy, which eventually led into Christopher Daniels and Kazarian coming out. I like this on the aspect that you had Bully Ray going out there, trying to be the good guy here, saying, he doesn't think he really deserves it. He wasn't part of that world title tournament to try to impress Hulk Hogan or in any way, shape, or form. And the reason why I actually liked that promo, even though it was like the two of them just being nice to each other at that sense, was the fact that Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, somebody who was actually in that tournament to try to impress Hogan to get the world title shot, actually came out and voiced their opinion about it. And that made it worth the while, which also led into a very good tag team match between Bully Ray and Jeff Hardy versus Kazarian and Daniels. So, all in all, that was pretty good in that sense. The only thing that I really would like to actually see is some tension between Jeff Hardy and Bully Ray going into the pay-per-view. Unless the aspect is, Bully Ray's going to try to be nice to Jeff Hardy the whole way through, and then the story switches where he's part of Aces and Eights or something in that sense. It just makes for a very boring storyline going into the pay-per-view match. I mean, both of them have had a history with Aces and Eights. You would think, leading into the pay-per-view, they would still continue going after them in this sense, which they haven't done this week. Maybe that's something they'll do next week, going in there. But all in all, at this point, the world title match, it has a very boring storyline to it in that sense. And I mean, you have a lot more time. They have a lot more time to build a storyline, something around this, and this is what they've come up with so far. I'm not thoroughly enjoying it. I don't like that storyline. Obviously, the match itself will be good. It will be a good match because it's Bully Ray, it's Jeff Hardy, and a lot of the matches in TNA Impact and the Impact pay-per-views are really good matches. It's sometimes the story building that gets left behind in the sense of just not being up to par with the matches themselves. Now, last year they were doing really good, especially going into Bound for Glory. I think they've slipped a little bit on their storytelling as of late, and that it does kind of disappoint me. But overall, I mean, most of the time you're usually enjoying yourself. You're usually enjoying the matches. So hopefully something will pick up better next week with the storyline. Obviously, I'm liking where the Aces and Eights storyline is going with Kurt Angle, the unmasking of another guy who we didn't see who it was, but you got to take your own assumptions. Who was it? When will Kurt tell who it was? All that type deal. And there's some good stuff going into the pay-per-view itself. Obviously, only 5 matches on the card so far, so hopefully a couple more matches will be put in there. Maybe Kenny King and RVD will be put back in there, considering the good match that they had. Well, it was relatively good for the most part, outside of somewhat towards the end. It looked a little bit sloppy, but with Kenny King actually winning the X Division title over Rob Van Dam, and you'll more than likely see the rematch at the pay-per-view, and they'll obviously try to add one more match into it as well. Overall, I felt Impact was relatively good. There were some good points to it. I just wish Bully Ray and Jeff Hardy would have a little bit more tension going into their pay-per-view match in general. So, yeah, that's my review for TNA Impact Wrestling this week. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.